everyone.
Hello.
Lovely to see you all. How are we doing?
All right.
Nice. I know actually most of you have been here before. How many people have not been to a session before? Well, it's lovely to see you guys. My name is Zach, and today we're going to talk about stress, anxiety, and troubling thoughts. So I hope you enjoy. I think you'll like this one. Today will be, I imagine today will hit home quite a bit. And whenever I say again. But I think you'll like today. The intention is to highlight a few things that you should be aware of when it comes to stress and anxiety and these areas that, we know about. You know, everybody, we talk about stress all the time, right? How many days do you get home and you're like, oh, I had a stressful day? Or how many of you are currently undergoing treatment that is causing you stress, or you are just generally under a lot of pressure right now? Right? And so the point of today is to highlight different ways of analyzing our stress levels and then doing something about it. And my hope is that today will give you a few practical skills that you can take away, but also show you a few elements of your stress levels that maybe you didn't know about before. So I hope you enjoy. But before we get into it properly, I want you to give me a reaction in any way that you want. It could be a word, it could be a sound, a phrase, to the word stress. Go. Tired. What was the, do that word, do that sound again? Yeah.
Oh no, I'm the opposite. I sort of inhale and hold my breath.
Okay, so yours is, okay.
Yeah.
What,
Tears.
Tears. Yeah, an emotional response to it. Okay. What else? Any, or we can.
Overwhelming.
Feeling overwhelmed.
Exhausted.
Okay, so then next, what is something that causes you stress? And it could be anything that. Feeling out of control.
Don't know where to start or what to do first.
Yeah, so that I guess links to feeling overwhelmed as well. What else?
Children bickering.
Children bickering and children and bickering.
Yeah.
Oh, that's three things, right?
Yeah,
The unknown. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. And I suppose all of those things and more link to all of you in particular, you know, for the connecting reason as to why you are all here with Helen Rollason, right? That alone is such a stressful thing. And so I want to give you a little something that you can take away with you today that will hopefully help with all the above and more. So let's get started. Today's all about identification and action. Identification and action. And there's a very good reason for both. So identification is us being able to recognize our stress, what's causing it, and what we can do to help it. If we identify our stress levels, but we don't act, how are you gonna feel? Probably more stressed, right? If you are trying to act, but you haven't yet identified what's going on, how are you going to feel? Because you don't know where to start, potentially, right? So in my head, you need both. You need to identify and then act. It's kind of like a domino. You need both sides. So that's the first part I want to tell you about. And to me, this isn't about eliminating stress, because I don't really believe that that's possible, right? In fact, I actually believe the opposite. I believe that we require stress in order to progress as human beings. However, if our stress is causing us issues in terms of our health, then I believe it is almost like our duty to do something about it. Would you agree with what I just said, or do you have a different kind of perspective? Okay.
I think that's just hard to get into that mindset.
Okay, you could go and expand on that.
That even though that you know that it's happening, to change your thought patterns, to change the way that you have been all your life, or other reasons why you are stressed in those situations, I think it's then hard to just go.
No, I agree with you. But that's actually part of the reason why the identification part is so important. So for example, okay, last night, so I go to like a martial arts gym and in through the door comes this guy named Benjamin, and he's younger, he's like 16, but he's been coming along a lot recently, and I think he likes that he's with like kind of older guys who can give him words of wisdom, and he came and sat next to me, and he was like this, like he was amped up, and he was like, I'm incredibly stressed, what can I do? And so we kind of walked through different steps he could take. So I said, you got to do two things. We got to deal with this, and we got to deal with this. Let's deal with this part first. So we went through some breathing exercises, and suddenly you could see he went from this to that. And then to prevent him from going back to this, we talked about what was actually causing him the stress. So then we started dealing with this. And what we found was that after I questioned him and asked him some questions, he was stressed because there was a plan that he had in his mind, and then his girlfriend changed the plans immediately, and now he felt like he didn't have control. That was kind of where that was coming from. But it took time to bring his stress levels down and address the reason for why it was happening, for him to identify what the problem was. Because so much of the time we could be stressed without even realizing it. This, to me, is where we can start to improve that response to it. So, we really started with this, what makes you feel stressed? How do you know when you are stressed? What are some of your stress symptoms?
Moody.
Moody? Did you say snappy? Yeah, snappy.
Running around like
Grumpy.
Or rushing too much, and you just see that whatever you do is not happening. Just
Okay,
because
yeah,
you're
so like rushing
concentrating.
around, yeah. Tearful. What else?
My chest feels tight.
Yeah. Does that reflect in your breathing as well?
Yeah.
Like really shallow breathing? Nice. What else?
I already have problems with sickness and nausea, and it
Right.
exacerbates the situation
Yeah, I can imagine.
substantially.
Okay, so that's a big one.
Sometimes with the palpitations, I can
Yeah.
feel your heart
Absolutely.
in your chest.
So we're already seeing that there are different symptoms that we exhibit. Some of them are physical sensations, like the breathing and the heart palpitations and feeling nauseous. Others are more emotionally based, so feeling moody, feeling tearful, feeling angry sometimes. How many of you get like frustrated maybe?
Yeah.
Right? But then there are other ones too. So for example, how many of you sweat when you get stressed? How many of you pace? You physically start moving and you get loads of energy. Other times, some people want to fall asleep. Like they get so muddled up that they just want to close their eyes. So there are different ways in which stress presents itself to us. The reason why it is so important though, to recognize this, is because that is your sign that it's happening. Because again, we get so fixated sometimes. How many of you have been in a situation where it's causing you stress, but you haven't really taken time to analyze the stress part, because that thing, that problem, is taking up all of your attention?
Yeah.
And even that, how many of you find that when you get stressed, your attention becomes very narrow? Like you get fixated. Do you find that? So all of these things that are happening for a good reason. When you are stressed, essentially what's happening is your body is going into action mode. It's preparing for something. And that something could be something immediately in your vicinity. So let's say the fire alarm started going off. All of us would feel a little bit stressed initially because we don't know whether that's real or fake, right? Then we find out, okay, this is real, we have to exit. So then our heart rate starts to rise even further, and now we're out the door and we're safe, right? But let's say you started to anticipate a problem at home today. Like you're thinking to yourself right now that at 3 p.m. I'm gonna have this problem. How would you feel in the present moment? You would feel, yeah, and we're gonna talk about anxiety a little bit more, but we're gonna feel stressed.
It's already happening.
It's already
I have something at 3 o'clock. and I'm not
Right,
gonna
okay, so I'm on the right
At
lines.
the time,
Yeah.
checking only 3 hours, maybe 2 hours, only 1 hour to,
Right.
to that point.
And you're waiting
And I'll be
for it, and
building
you're
and
waiting
building
for
and
it.
building and building.
Right. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more as well. But let's come back to how stress is affecting us. So what would have made people feel stressed 10,000 years ago?
Nothing.
Lack of food.
Well, definitely a lot less. But you're right. Food, shelter, water. What else? Animals. Yeah, predators of any kind. Also, like enemies, right?
Yeah,
like an
other
enemy
people.
tribe, or yeah.
Same as now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But now I suppose the difference is that there are far more. There are more things that we can be stressed about, right? People then weren't stressing about bills or you know,
Appointments.
medication or appointments
Anything
or
that you need to be there at that time.
yeah, or a lot. Or,
Yeah, no, I kind of disagree, because they were like, oh, is this plant gonna kill me? So
Potentially.
the witch doctor says that it's gonna cure me, but it might also kill me.
this is true. So there definitely would have
So-
been maybe more nuance than what we're talking about right now. However, the main thing that they would have been stressed about is survival
Yeah.
Yes.
as a whole, right? Whereas we typically these days are stressing less about survival and more about,
I'm sorry.
well, it could be anything, as we've already discovered, right? But the point is that we're still stressing. And underneath the surface, underneath my skin and inside my organs and everything, the stress that I'm experiencing today over whatever it is that I've got at 3 p.m. is the same as the stress that they would have experienced 10,000 years ago as a result of a storm or a predator, right? The point is recognizing that the stress is the same and the way that it presents might be a little bit different between us, but what we have to do is deal with that stress because our health is ultimately what is at risk if we don't.
Sometimes I think that we are creating our stress ourselves sometimes.
Well, we're going to talk about that as well, because I think you're definitely right in saying that. So, what are your thoughts so far, and is this resonating with you? Okay. So, these are our stress hormones. Now, there are others that are involved, but these are the two main ones. We've got adrenaline and cortisol. Do you know anything about these hormones already?
Yeah, release from my stress and like fight and flight sort of.
Cortisol, is it worse in the morning when you wake up? That can make you. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
you're
more
right.
of anxiety.
No, you're right, you are right.
Yeah.
Okay, so release when we're stressed, links to fight or flight. Fight or flight is the common, what do you want to call that? Stress theory that you hear, right? It's all about fight or flight. The idea that when you are stressed, your body is preparing to either help you run away or to fight. And that links as well to what we've already talked about, it's preparation. Now, there are other ways of looking at stress as a whole. Fight or flight was just kind of the biggest iteration, but we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. What was your one again?
It was like, is it
Oh, in the
cortisol?
morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really good point. So, you can kind of think about these as on switches and off switches for various parts around the body. So, for example, adrenaline, what is adrenaline known to do primarily?
Psych you up.
Cortisol does a couple of different things. One of the things that it does is it rises in the morning to help wake you up because it energizes you. Part of that is that when your cortisol levels rise, your blood sugar will also begin to rise with it. Now, that's one of the reasons why I talk about stress so much, because I talk to diabetic and pre-diabetic patients for the NHS a lot. So a lot of them don't realize that when, you know, we're talking about blood sugar and diabetes, yes, food plays a large role in that, but actually stress plays an enormous role in that as well. But this also links to you guys, because if I wake up in the morning and my cortisol levels are high, then I'm going to wake up and my blood sugar is going to begin to rise. But then if I'm stressed for the rest of the day, that's when that becomes a problem. Does that make sense? So these are the hormones responsible for all of those changes that we just talked about beforehand. So for example, okay, a person is pacing back and forth. Person's pacing, they've got loads of energy. Right now, their heart rate is high, which means that blood is pumping around their body. Do you know why your blood pressure rises when you're stressed?
I'm not going to say it.
Go for it.
It's just because there is a vessel constriction, and that's why the blood pressure rises.
Absolutely, and the reason, so your blood vessels constrict, and what that does is it pushes blood out to your arms and legs. And the reason for that is so that if you do have to run away or fight or whatever it is, you have the blood in your muscles prepared to do so. That's why your blood pressure goes up. So now the heart rate's high, your blood pressure's high, you've got blood in your muscles, your blood sugar has gone up, which means you've got more energy. And now it makes sense why I feel like I've got to get all this energy out of me. That's the reason why. If you sweat, it's because your internal temperature has risen. If when you find yourself fixated, it's because your attention field has narrowed so that you focus in on whatever the problem is. These are all the reasons why. So these are really important. These are really important to consider. And what I want you to do is get into the mindset of not demonizing them, but recognizing that these are simply tools that the body uses to make sure that you survive whatever it is that you are currently dealing with. However, the thing that can potentially save my life is also the thing that can potentially put my health on the line. Because if I'm stressed, let's say I'm crossing the street, I'm walking across, and a car suddenly comes barreling around the corner. Immediately, my heart rate goes up, I run out of the way, I jump, I'm safe. That system, internally, has saved my life. But if I then am ruminating about that near-death experience later, and tomorrow, and the day after, and next week, then that stress that I experience momentarily, I'm going to be experiencing for a prolonged period of time. That is what is going to cause me issues. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to try and look at together. Now, do you have any thoughts or comments or questions or anything before we move forward? So, these then are basically what we just talked about. These are a few, not all of them, but a few of the symptoms of acute stress, the stress that we experience here and now. So, heart palpitations, heavy breathing, high blood pressure, increased blood sugar, sweating, emotional changes. How many of you said emotional changes? Shaking and fidgeting, difficulty sleeping. Now, again, this is momentary stress, but you can see how if we are experiencing momentary stress frequently, and this becomes like my new norm, how that can impact my health in the long run. And not only my health, but how many of you would prefer to not feel stressed, like on a day-to-day basis? So this part, again, this part is the identification. Next, we're going to work on the action. These then are the effects of chronic stress, long-term stress, when I'm continuously experiencing acute stress. So like momentary stress, but continuously.
Sorry, can we photograph these again at the end? Yeah?
Absolutely. So, type 2 diabetes, that's my main subject area, but relates to this whole area. Cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, high cholesterol, inflammation, so issues like stomach issues, bloating, arthritis, insomnia, digestive disorders, digestive problems, memory issues, migraines, anxiety, depression, and certain forms of cancer. Now, looking at that list, are there any surprises up there? Or is this all common knowledge in two different ways? You could look at it as, I'm incredibly stressed, so I'm at higher risk of these issues. Or you could look at it as, if I reduce my stress levels by even a little bit, I will be reducing my risk of all of the above. That's kind of the way that I like to look at it, So what I want us to do now is have a little talk between us about what it is that you do when you're stressed. I want to know what you do when you are stressed. Like, what are your coping mechanisms? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So for the next minute or so, talk between yourselves, and I'm going to ask you about what you discussed. Go for it.
What do you do?
But when you come home from work,
You wake up, you feel stressed, and you go.
No, that was me. Yeah, no, that was me. Literally, Sunday I was like, this is not continue. I was like, I normally I get out of the bed and walk, but I've been struggling with stress. They've had me for 7 months, and I was like, no, I have no idea. As soon as I did that, this week it became so much better. It was all that was continue, but unfortunately I struggle with them being. So like we also don't think the great mindset sometimes that much more now. I'm as soon as I've not done it for one day, I'll be struggling the next day. So if I'm there, then I if I just miss my day, that would be the ultimate. Whereas now I'm like, no, it's okay, it's only one day, I'll bring it all.
Which is fine.
I'm about 50 visitors to family, and I sneak out and I make sure they don't know I'm gone. They think I'm doing some errand, and actually I'm going for a walk in the park. And they go, oh, so we didn't have the bill. And I go, oh yeah, we didn't have it.
No, I resonate with it's frustrating when the thing you know you need to do is the thing that you don't feel motivated to do.
And I've never been that person. That's not a thing. It's like,
I guess that's almost like the long-term effect of another long-term effect of the stress. Is that it kind of depletes you as time goes on, and then suddenly you find yourself feeling so much less inclined to do the things that you know will help. Yeah. And that's especially the case when we start adding other mental conditions on top, right? You know, a person's stressed and then they become depressed. And now that motivation just tanks even further. Right, we're gonna, what you just said about motivation, would you mind saying it again when we resume? Alright, are we ready?
I'm going to say, put it better.
So,
you're gonna do it.
Sorry.
no, you're good. So, I'm sorry, I know you're having some good conversations there. So, what have we discovered? And what do we do when we're stressed? Lots of different things.
I panic.
Are you panic?
I don't know, I've got 10 things to do and I don't know where to start.
Okay. And then when you panic, what does that look like? What does that feel like in the moment?
Well, it's frustration because I don't know where to start and I don't do anything. At the end of the day, I feel I haven't achieved anything and that makes me feel worse. And it's just a vicious circle in a way.
I think sometimes then just everything becomes a big problem, not just the little thing that is the problem.
We were just talking about your kids as well.
Stress.
Yeah, and you do that and you do that.
I've got the ball up.
I've got a mental list in my head for today. I'm going to tell you everything. Which actually I did last night, which was quite stressful.
What was that like?
It was stressful. I've got 3 sons.
How old are they?
Well, this is my point. They're 26, 24, and 21. And I feel I still have to tell them to clean the bathroom. They share their bathroom, but it's that, and my eldest one is very confident and very good at debating. The other 2 are the younger ones and have been more kind of influenced by him. So he's like this with an argument straight away. And his argument was, 1, they don't see it. My standards are way too high.
We've heard that before.
Yeah. The bathroom was not as bad, he's seen worse. The other one was, he's not here as often because he goes to work and then he goes to his girlfriend's most weekends. So actually his percentage should be much lower than the rest of them. My middle one works from home, he's trying to set up his own business, and my youngest one has just got back from uni. They are in the house more often, so it means natural common sense that they should be doing the ones that do more housework. Oh my God! And he's just like this, like this.
Is he a lawyer?
No.
Should be.
Yeah. He's a scientist, and he's very black and white.
Oh, yeah, the
Very
scientists are
logical.
like that.
This is the problem, this is how I'll solve it. But all the feelings and emotions in between, no.
Yeah.
Let's just get to the point. And I'm I am full emotion,
Yeah.
and I can see the youngest son's point of view, the middle one's point of view, the eldest one's point of view, my point of view, and trying to portray that to 3 men.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so hard.
Well, I was actually just going to say that this also highlights a difference in that I'm obviously talking to a group of exclusively women in this room, but there is a difference in the way that male and female, you know, traits.
But then saying that, I totally agree with you because obviously I've got a medical background. My daughter wants to go to medical, and we are black and white, both of us. We are born one day apart, and it's nightmare. Our characters clashes all the time, and there is no something in the middle. So it's not only men, and she's very argumentative, and she wants to say what it is, that's what it says, and it's not like that, and it's not going to happen, and then it escalates. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let's rewind for a sec. So in that state, in that case, what's something that you do when you're stressed? What's your coping mechanism?
I try not to cry, because if I cry, and I cry at every emotion. Angry, sad, proud.
Just an outlet.
It just has to come out and I can't stop it. But what infuriates me is when I cry, it takes my voice away, and then people perceive you as more emotional or weak, or you can't quickly, because I've got no voice. And I'm like trying to calm myself down to be able to have my voice back, and that is so hard. And I'm trying to think, right, you're the parent here, you're the bigger picture here, right, try and do sensible. But oh my God, you're so bloody annoying, and why can't you see what I'm seeing? And my husband was away, and he came back last night, and he looked at me and he went, what's the problem, what's happened? Because my face just instantly, so I was telling him, and he was going, you've got to pick your arguments, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And I'm thinking, no, bloody one, I've got no women in my house. I want a woman in my house, you just gets me. But yeah, just I try and kind of, and I did say it two times, let's leave it. But then all 3 of them collectively went, no, we need to sort this out, we need to,
don't let it go.
Yeah, we don't want to upset you.
Well, then that's a good thing.
It is a good thing,
But then the
but then it
arguments
continues
are
going,
not
you know, as well. It's kind of like I understand you want to kind of, they don't want to upset me, they want to resolve it.
So then just do it. That's the easiest way.
Yes.
As a favour to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing they say, generally. I clean the bathroom for you.
Yeah, I've got the washing in for you.
Oh,
hello,
really?
Answer on the line.
Yeah. It's not my washing. Not my. Yeah, I live in a stressful household with growing up with, well, having 3 sons in a house. 4 men in your house is hard.
Very
Uni moving to my boys because they do the wiping up later, so you have them melting, you know, on the drying board.
Oh, it's 2
The
o'clock.
bathroom, they
3
don't see the
o'clock lunch.
bathroom. Yeah.
It's a tea at 2 o'clock in the morning because I didn't get up until 12.
Don't you think you have to learn to accept things? You know, people are different.
Yes.
They're not the same as you.
Yeah.
And that
It's
can
very
go.
hard to
It is.
accept.
Yeah.
But
It is hard, but you have to accept that if they're different people,
I
they
understand
have
that they're different
views
people, and I understand that they're
do that. But you
their
know,
levels, but I have felt that I've compromised so much with the standards of what I would require, and I know that theirs is different, but I'm just asking for basic. To me, it's basic stuff.
well, it's obviously
Just
not what they
respect,
think is
just respect.
best, is it?
No.
And if you're at uni, if you come back from uni, you have totally different things. But I remember being not very great with cleaning things like that when I was younger. But as you know, when I was sort of first married and everything, but as time went on, I think you get a bit more.
Yeah,
I
you get
think
more experience
If
and
you
you get
just
more life
accept
experience.
sometimes that's how they are, and
You gotta tell his girlfriend.
maybe that will
Our Tommy's girlfriend,
reduce stress down.
Yeah.
You know.
she
Can't do.
cleaned his room. He's lost a lot of weight, my son, because he was in quite a deep depression. He's got put on a lot of weight. He's now lost 4 stone, and Jim completely mindset has changed, which is good. But he's still a slob, and he's still wearing the 4 stone heavier clothes,
Right.
hanging down his bum, holes in them. and his girlfriend said, when you sit like that and you've got holes in between your tracksuit, it's not a pleasant thing, especially when we're out. And I mentioned it to her, and she went, leave it with me, and I went, okay then. And he let her clean his entire room. He didn't help.
Right.
She wants to do it, let her do it.
Right.
Yeah, but good daughter-in-law, Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
He came down and he went, Abby says I've got to get rid of this and this and this. And I went, okay, yeah, just put it there. Yes! I was like,
I would
Yeah.
get a cleaner and bill him. That's
yes.
what I would do
Me.
for mine. Yeah, absolutely. That is an option.
That's true, because my husband said to me, why don't we get a cleaner? And I went, but that takes away,
But that
they
depends
should be
on your,
cleaning.
but that depends on your
Yeah,
standard.
but that
I had
takes
three,
away stress,
three
it's
times
something else,
different
yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and they're not up to my standards, so why I'm paying the money?
And it's also the difference between acceptance and capitulation.
I mean,
We-
that's true.
We digress.
Pressure for me to be able to get the particular role, and I haven't interviewed in 10 years because I've worked for my company for 10 years. So I was stressed about that, and then I tend to have tunnel vision on like what's happening. So then I wasn't sleeping very well, and then thinking I haven't got to. So normally I'd get up and go for a walk in the morning. That's something that I've done since I was on chemo. It kind of helped me to feel more well in myself, and I then wasn't sleeping well, so then wasn't motivated to go for the walk because I just wanted to focus on sorting the interview, which then I knew what the problem was, but just wasn't able to do the action that I know would help me. So continued like that for the whole week, just feeling terrible. When I was saying about my chest, like as soon as I'd had the interview, I don't actually think I even realised, I knew I was stressed, but didn't realise how stressed I was, because after I'd done the interview, I physically felt so much lighter. And I was like, it's done now, there's nothing, if I get it or don't, I can't do anything about it. I've done what I can. And then on Sunday this week, I was like, I cannot, even though the interview had been done, I felt slightly better, I still had like lacked the motivation to keep going on my walk. So on Sunday night, I was like, no matter how bad I feel, no matter how bad I sleep, I'm setting my alarm and I'm going on this walk regardless of whether I want to go or not. And as soon as I did, I felt so much better. And then this week has been so much easier because I've been so much more motivated to continue to go for that walk, because that's something that personally helps me. So yeah, it's a tough cycle.
It is. It's a tough cycle, and this also highlights the importance. You can improve your health by gradually improving your response to stress, and your response is the key bit there, because whether that's through acceptance or through actions or through whatever it may, or our habits, and our stress-related habits. So we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail. But I did hear a few of the things that you said. Walking is one, going outside, but then eating is another one, drinking is another one, right? So we're going to look at a few different versions. So people often engage in behaviors or consume substances which help them deal with stress. What kind do you gravitate towards?
Sweet chocolate.
Sweet things, chocolate, what else?
Crisps.
Alcohol, crisps, a multitude of things.
Yes, unhealthy food.
Ice cream at the moment.
Ice cream at the moment, nice. What flavour?
Salted caramel.
Ooh. Getting hungry. So the reason why we lean on these behaviors to do with stress is to do with our neurochemistry. So there is a particular, it's a neurotransmitter and a hormone which makes us feel better and helps us to deal with stress. Do you know what it's called? And it starts with a D. Yeah, dopamine. So I pick up a piece of chocolate and I eat it and I feel better, and suddenly I feel a little bit less stressed. That dopamine has helped to almost pad my brain to deal with that stress, right? And then the more of that thing that I have, the more of it I need in the future to get the desired effect. So later I need a bit more chocolate, or I need an additional cigarette or a glass of wine, or I need to scroll for longer on my phone or play that game for longer, or whatever it may be. So this is why we have these coping mechanisms. And it doesn't have to be a negative coping mechanism. It could be that I am going for a walk. It could be that I am going outside. It could be that I'm going to my yoga class. But alternatively, it could be something else. Like, for example, a lot of people, and maybe they don't realize it at the time that it's happening, but You know what a really a really strong source of dopamine is? An argument. And so some people like look for an argument to get that kind of rise, and not only that rise in dopamine, but some people that's a coping mechanism to get that kind of aggression out, right? So there are different. You get what I'm saying? There are different ways that we cope.
Some people really do feel better after they've had a situation.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. That calm after the storm.
I do
Yeah.
know a few people.
Some people do.
That do. Yeah.
But again, that highlights the difference in us as individuals, right? So, how does stress affect your behavior? That's the question I want to ask. And if we already know that stress is going to increase our risk of those illnesses we looked at, how are our behaviors adding to that problem? Because if I am, all right, so my blood sugar is rising as a result of my stress. I've been stressed every day for the past month with stress, which is pretty much all throughout the day. I, pop sweets into my mouth. So now my blood sugar is rising even higher as a result of the behavior that I'm adding in on top of the stress. So this isn't to say that what you're doing is bad and you should never touch sweets or anything like that. It's more to just recognize that, okay, the stress is having this effect and my behavior is having this effect. And if I combine the two, I can probably see what direction I'm headed in. Ways that you can change that behavior, but are you already thinking of a few behaviors that you might or could do with a switch? Anything you want to share? Anything?
I would like to go for a walk, like what you said in the morning.
Yeah.
I just need to find the time how to change it.
That's the tricky part, right?
That's
But
the
no.
thing that I need to work on.
I'm trying to do the same. Whenever I feel myself getting a little bit more agitated, a little bit more stressed, I find myself like almost craving going out into the forest. And then, because I know that's going to help. But then, like you said, like the motivation part, the timing, the scheduling, that's where it gets tricky. So we'll talk more about that. But this is what I want to talk about next. What is the difference between stress and anxiety? You mentioned feeling anxious before. What's the difference between stress and anxiety?
Stress is like maybe a situation, I don't know, for example, you're at work and you're getting too much pressure to finish this. And anxiety to me is more like a worry.
Okay.
If
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never leaves you.
Never leaves you. Okay, interesting. Is there anything that causes you anxiety specifically?
Yeah, unknown.
Sorry, say again.
Unknown.
Unknown. Yeah. Okay.
Unknown things and the future, what's coming.
Anxiety is more, for me anyway, about things that haven't happened yet. Now, I might be basing past things that have happened and predicting those will happen again from something in the past, but anxiety for me is something in the future.
Okay. But I think we can agree that it's more up here, right? More thought-based, I suppose.
Anxious.
Yeah.
Because of the stress.
So the way I like to think about it is stress and anxiety go hand in hand, right? And the reason for that is because, well, the definition of anxiety that I know, and there are others, but this is the definition that I like to use myself. It's living in a state of fear, dread, and worry. Does that sound accurate to you? Right? Now, of course, as we've already talked about, stress can be caused by what's happening around me, just as easily as what's going on up here, right? So if I am living in a state of fear, dread, and worry, what is that likely going to be causing internally? My stress levels to rise, right? So for that reason, the symptoms of stress and anxiety are pretty much exactly the same. The long-term effects of stress and anxiety are pretty much exactly the same. So if you have chronic anxiety, you are also at higher risk of diabetes and heart disease and all the rest of it. So these days, anxiety has become such a prominent topic, right, in like the zeitgeist and like the health world that we're in. I think that instead of just labeling it as anxiety, I think we should connect the dots between stress and anxiety and teach people how to deal with both.
Yeah, how to cope with that, not put them on medication.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Damage to them.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people who require medication.
Yeah, and prioritize that if that's not need to happen that day. However, I know that today I cannot move anything from my schedule.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I just stopped in the middle of my clinic in one of the care homes, and I said, you know what? Everything will go as it should be. I cannot change anything.
Yeah.
Why stressing about it?
Yeah.
What else can I do?
So in that moment, you changed
Yeah,
your thought pattern.
absolutely, because I cannot change anything today. It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I like that, and we're going to talk about that more, because this and this are very closely connected. Our brain and body have a symbiotic relationship. We cannot have one without the other, unless you're like one of those heads that sit in a jar in Futurama or something like that. But besides from that, we have the two because we need both, right? But that means that we have to acknowledge and identify that this can affect this, and also this can affect this. For some people, they start getting stressed physically, and then it causes their brain to start racing. So there's different ways you can think about it. But what I want to do is go more into the mental side for a minute, and then we will return to the physical. So these here are known as thought traps. These are different ways of thinking which do exactly what it says on the tin. They trap us in our brain. And I've learned a lot about how people think, and I've recognized different patterns in how different people respond to what I'm saying, right? So whenever I put this up, immediately I get heads nodding, because we all relate to at least one of these, right? But there's also like a process that happens. So people come into these sessions and often give themselves very rigid rules. They may not even realize it, but they do, right? So I'll start talking about sugar. And then immediately someone will latch on to the fact that I've just mentioned sugar. And they'll say to me, that's it, I'm cutting out sugar. I'm never having sugar. But of course, we don't really do very well in that process, right? So if I said to you, for example, I'm never eating chocolate again, what's the first thing that I'm gonna want as soon as I leave? Right? So now I've broken that rigid rule, right? And now, I'm at the same time as giving myself these rules, I'm doing it in an all or nothing. Couple years back, and losing a ton of weight. He lost like 50 kilos in like 6 months. He just melted away. He looked great afterwards, and he was so much healthier. But he is an all-in or an all-out kind of person. And so, but when my mum developed breast cancer, she took priority, which understandable, but there's a certain degree of you have to take care of yourself as well to take care of others, right? So his health took a backseat, and then he was pretty much all out. Now, in recent months, he has started to take small steps. So he's not really approaching it in the same way anymore. He's taking little steps. He's getting healthier bit by bit. He's doing what we talked about last time. He's making the sauerkraut and the kombucha and doing his gut health and stuff like that. That's really cool for me to see. But the all or nothing doesn't always work very well. So then, things haven't gone our way so far. Are we feeling positive towards ourselves or negative?
Most time negative.
A lot of the time, right? And we also are pretty well programmed to look for flaws. We look for parts of the system that aren't working very well, and we beat ourselves up for it. So how many of you feel like you could probably do with talking to yourself in a more positive way? Because it's very easy. Say again?
Just think positive, like going
Yeah.
out and seeing somebody with a nice dress or nice trouser or whatever, just, oh, what a lovely person. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And not just, oh my God, she looks rough today.
Well,
Which is more, for example.
I think talking to yourself as if you would talk to a friend.
Yeah.
yes, I agree with that. But it is hard. And you know what?
Very.
This also then, we can boil this down to a number of different things. We can bring this back to the way that you were raised. We can bring this back to the way that your parents were, and how they spoke to you, and how they coped themselves, and
Because the expectations as well.
yeah, absolutely. So you know, if you did have a parent who was particularly harsh, likelihood is that voice in your head that is quite harsh on you probably stems from them. There may be more nuance than that, but you get the idea. Like, there are different ways that you can analyze this information. And also, some people, that's their default setting. So there's this idea of negative automatic thoughts, which is exactly how it sounds. My initial thought, the default setting, is that thought is negative, and then I have to actively go in and reprogram it to make it positive. That's kind of like what you did today, right? Where you went in and you said, you know what, things are going to happen, I'm going to be fine, it's going to happen as it should.
Yeah.
But that takes practice.
Yeah.
So then I've now broken my rules. I've not done the thing that I said I was going to do. I've been very harsh on myself. Now I'm labeling myself. Now I'm useless, or I'm fat, or I'm lazy, or I'm this, or I'm that. And there's always an example that I come back to when I talk about this. There was a woman in one of my classes who recognized that that day she had been to the swimming pool. And for no apparent reason, while she was wearing her swim costume, she went to the mirror and she just started calling herself fat. Now, she didn't recognize it at the time, but she later recognized that not only did she do that, but when she is referring to her friend who is more overweight than she is, she would never use the word fat. She would use the word overweight.
Which is much kinder, isn't it?
Which is much kinder. And so you get what I'm saying, right? It's not only about what we're saying, but the way we're saying it and the words that we're using, right? That they carry a lot of weight. No pun intended.
It's easier to beat yourself up than accept compliments and
Yeah.
things like that, because you always go, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm not good at that, or
Yeah. Yeah. And but again, that's something to identify within you. Because if, right, so you tonight are going to bed and you are safe. You're safe, like you're in a locked house, which means that is that stress coming from around you or from within you? Within. But if that stress is coming from within, and that is the reason why my health is suffering, or why I'm not sleeping, or why I'm more tired than I should, the result of that's going to be, like, there are a million things that we could be worrying about. But again, recognizing that it's happening and doing something to get us to do.
Yeah.
So then I will rejig it and I'll plan it so that I'll spread out the things that I'm doing. But then I could spend 20 minutes working on that. And sometimes you might be excessively planning to avoid something or distract yourself, or as like a coping mechanism, right? And then almost the opposite of that is I'm living in the past and I'm thinking back and I'm imagining a memory, something that's happened. And again, that could be a coping mechanism, that could be a sign that maybe there's something that you need to work through, but ultimately this is me getting trapped up here, right? So now that I've kind of gone through those, are you resonating with them even more than before? So what I'm going to propose to you next are methods of getting out of your head. Things that you can do to remove yourself from your head and to deal with whatever it is that you're going through. So in the example that I gave earlier with the young man that I was talking to last night, he and I talked about things that he could do to get him out of his head. What I discussed with him was breathing exercises, which helped him to calm down, and then talking about it, which helped him to get it out of his head. Here are a few things we can do. Activities, right? Walking, going outside, exercising, puzzles, word searches, talking to a friend, whatever it may be, those are all things that you can do. And the main thing in there is act. That's the main part of that, right? Doing something, because if you sit and you ruminate, how long could you be going round in circles for?
hours.
Yeah. How much time do you have? Right? Thought breaks. You could call these thought breaks, things that you do to distract yourself so that you don't end up like that for hours. Because what you might find is that you need 20 minutes to go and distract yourself, and then you come back to it, and then you find, actually, now I'm feeling a lot more relaxed. Now I've had some time to kind of move away from this. Actually, I'm thinking about this better or differently. Journaling. Do any of you journal? How do you find it?
At the beginning, when I started doing it, it was a mess and crazy anger writing all over the place. But I liked that I got it out of my head. You go back to it, I'll go now.
Nice.
But then later on, I've just spoken to somebody about this actually. Later on, I found under pressure, because I like things chronological.
Yeah.
If I'd missed 3 or 4 days, I felt like I had to go back
Right.
3 days ago and go, right, what happened then and then to get to this point. So then I kept feeling, oh, I haven't written in it, I haven't written in it.
Right.
So then I stopped. But I'm now coming back to the thought of now I'll just write it when I feel like writing it.
That's nice. And what's funny is that that's a rigid rule, right? I have to
Yeah.
fill it in perfectly every day. But
Yeah.
actually, you're right. Doing it in your own kind of casual way is
Yeah.
probably a lot more beneficial. And then when you do write something, what effect does that have for you?
Emotion,
Yeah.
depending on what I'm writing. Anger, again, depending on what I'm writing. And there was actually one thing that happened was I wanted to tell my husband something, but knew that I would cry, so I knew that my voice would go, so I wrote it down.
Mm.
And in the book, I wrote, I don't know if you're going to read this, but if I do let you read this, this is why.
Right.
And I gave him the book.
Nice.
No,
Nice.
because I wasn't reading it, just going crying. But I knew that I'd got everything I wanted to say
Yeah.
in it, and he could just read at his own pace.
Nice.
So, yeah, there's good bits and bad bits, I think.
Nice.
about it.
I think what you just described is perfect.
Yeah.
Helps you to kind of work through emotions, helps you to get things out. That's the part that I always find. Like, I find that my thoughts kind of, I think if my brain is like a pinball machine, like it kind of bounces, and then if I do that, it allows it to exit.
In one of the sessions that I have, the CBT sessions, they said that, for example, something like you said, when you go to bed and you feel comfortable, safe and everything, and then you suddenly start, thinking of too much. And they said, write it down on a piece of paper and think about that tomorrow, because they're out of your head.
Yeah.
That's your worries. They're in a piece of paper. You cannot do anything about it. You did them, so you kind of told somebody, even if it's the paper.
Yeah.
And then you can sort that out tomorrow. So that kind of give you a little bit of. I didn't try it, but I might just to see how that goes.
See what happens,
Yeah.
because it could, and bear in mind that some of these things that we're talking about won't work perfectly immediately. Maybe it will, but maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, you have to then go back to the drawing board or keep practicing, right? So like breathing exercises are a great example of that. We're going to do one together if you fancy it. But by doing that, it doesn't alleviate all problems immediately, but if you practice it, it just might, Talking to someone, that could be anyone. I do think that it's important to be particular about who you're talking to, about certain subjects, right? Because you will know that you could talk to somebody about something and feel much worse afterwards,
Yes.
right?
Sorry.
But it serves the same purpose, getting it out. In fact, what some people do is that instead of talking to somebody, what they'll do is they will record themselves speaking. And by doing so, they could then listen back to it. And if you hear your thoughts through your ears,
It's a different perspective.
suddenly you're processing it in a different way to having them jumble around inside of your head. So that's something you could try too. Recently, I went back to counselling, and I've been talking to somebody for the last couple of months, and it's made a really big difference, And I almost feel like it's like training my brain. Like I train in the gym and I train in the my club and whatnot, but I go there and I train my brain, and that helps me to deal with emotions and process things and think through problems and actually practice talking about what's going on up here, because a lot of people don't have any practice in doing so. So that's a big one. And then lastly is really the point in all of this is to get to a point where we can challenge our thoughts better. Now, some people are really good at this, and others are less so. And it doesn't, I'm not making a judgment about you as a person if you are better or not at doing this. It's just the skill. But if you're good at that skill, you might find that you're able to regulate yourself better. If you aren't as good at that skill, you might find that you believe your thoughts as and when they come up. So when that thought comes up that says, oh, I'm useless because I didn't do X, Y, and Z, you might immediately believe that thought and then feel useless. As opposed to going, well, no, I'm not useless because actually I did X, Y, and Z, and I'm tired because I did this and that and whatnot, and actually I need to rest a bit more because tomorrow I've got a long day. That's a very different outcome. Now I can feel better about the fact that I didn't do that. I'll reschedule that. I'll do that tomorrow.
I just think we don't realize how much rest we need as well.
I
And we
agree.
don't schedule that.
Yeah.
We don't write it down as a goal.
I agree.
It's just that it comes naturally whenever you go to bed, you go to bed.
Yeah.
Or
I
have a
agree
rest
with
when
you.
you're tired. But it's not like that's what I need to aim for this week, for
Yeah.
example. Go to bed at 8.
Yeah.
And that will help me even settle down.
Mm. And a good point to raise there is that if you are resting physically, like you're sat down on a sofa, but your brain is still racing and you're beating yourself up for an hour, are you resting?
No.
Because you're working, you are literally working. So, in that case, you might actually enjoy doing this as a comprehensive type of activity. There are things that you can do to get better at this. Now, this may seem to some maybe a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little bit childish, because it's kind of a gimmicky kind of activity. But for some, this makes a really big difference. When you're journaling, write it down. What was the thought I was just thinking? Underneath it, or next to it, write out a different version of that thought. This is not going to go well. In all likelihood, if that's my thought before going into anything, is it going to go well?
Yeah.
Because
You're waiting for them.
I'm waiting for it to happen. And also, you got to bear in mind that the way that you're thinking is going to affect the way that you're feeling. The way that you're feeling is going to affect the way that you're behaving. So if I'm going in there saying this is not going to go well, my behavior is going to reflect it. And then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's probably, you know, I have this coming into sessions sometimes. If I go into a session and it's like a bigger group, sometimes I get a little bit nervous, especially if it's the first time. And so I have to program my brain to recognize that this will go well. Because if I don't, then what's going to happen is I'm going to start going really fast and stumbling over my words, and people aren't going to understand what I'm saying. And then, do you get what I'm saying? So then it's almost like I've caused that to happen. Whereas if I went in there and instead thought to myself, you know what, this might go better than I imagine, then it might go better than I imagine. And that way I'm leaving myself that gap.
And probably you'll do better than you
And
imagine.
yeah, absolutely.
Because you just have this
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah. One that I often encounter, I have always eaten this way. I cannot make changes.
I was like that before.
Yeah?
I never had breakfast. Why should I have now?
Right. So perfect example.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah, I have breakfast every morning.
and you feel,
Excellent. Not sleep, but excellent. But that's my cortisol levels.
yes, and but you know, you have to do the thing to
But yeah,
test
because
out
when now I
whether
eat
it works.
for breakfast, then I have a smaller lunch.
Mm.
And it's not the bigger portion that I'm starving, because obviously if I'm awake at 6 and don't eat until 1 or 2, nothing, and I
Yeah.
don't snack because I know it's bad. So I try to be a good girl,
Yeah,
and not obviously having the negative thoughts that I'm fat or whatever.
yeah,
So obviously I then gonna have a big portion that obviously gonna spike my glucose levels, and then I will feel tired and exhausted because
Yeah.
my pancreas needs to deal with that.
yeah. And also, how many of you get stressed out or agitated when you get hungry? So then you're probably in a more
Yeah.
agitated state anyway because you haven't eaten. So yeah, so perfect example. So then I've always eaten this way, but I'm open to suggestions. And again, if a person walked into this room and that was their first thought, would they take anything on board that I had to say?
No.
Because their assumption is that they can't, or that they don't need to, or they don't want to. So, you know, even if I said something that made their ears prick up, they probably wouldn't really take it on board. Whereas if they said, I'm open to suggestions, they're open to suggestions. They will literally absorb the thing that resonates with them. And that's actually the more tricky part of my job, getting the people who are resistant. And sometimes, like during a session, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but I'll see the very moment that I crack them. And then they'll be like, all right, yeah, I can do that, I guess. And that's when I know that their thought process has kind of changed in the moment. So, okay, up until this point, we have looked at identifying our stress levels by recognizing our symptoms of stress and our behaviors that are coping mechanisms, right? The next part is actually doing something about it. This is something that we could do about it. These are some things that we can do about it. Making sure that we are taking time to analyze, you know, what's going on up here, taking time away from our thoughts, talking about it, sharing about it. This then is the structure that I put together to help people actually deal with their stress from beginning to end, right? And it's very simple. I like it because it's simple. These two columns are for identifying stress. This one here is for action. So what are my stress symptoms? Heavy breathing, anger, and sweating, right? When I am feeling like that, I know I know that I'm stressed. Sorry, I need to sneeze, it's not coming out.
Do that.
Thanks. What are my stress-related habits? Drinking wine and eating chocolate. Okay, so between these 5 things that I've got here, I know that I'm stressed. It's not coming. What can I then do to deal with that? Okay, I'm going to start journaling, I'm going to start going to a yoga class once a week, and I'm going to practice some breathing exercises. Now, these are the typical suggestions that you get, right? I'm not going to say that what I'm proposing is, brand new information or innovative. I just think that the structure itself is helpful, because if this is something that you put up on your fridge, then A, you would be able to recognize the stress better and then deal with it as and when you need to. Because like I said before, if you're stressed, but you don't even recognize that you're stressed because you're so fixated on whatever it is, then identifying your symptoms and your coping mechanisms, you can go, oh yeah, today I've been really, energetic, and I have been really craving chocolate all day. Clearly I've been stressed and I didn't even recognize it. Let me do something now to bring that level back down. Right? Do you see the value in doing that?
I see the value in doing all of those things, and I do try and do some of those things during the day. My issue is still the night.
Right. Well, in which case, you need a version of this that you can do at night.
Yeah.
And again, that will be very dependent on you as an individual. But you could keep things nearby. So, for example, some people their thing is like they go on their phone. Right. For you, it could be I keep a notepad next to my bed. A book.
On St. Clair's Hospice, there's a really nice kind of pre-sleeping meditation from a lady who even did the class here.
Oh yeah.
And that's really nice. I found really useful that one, because obviously within the first minute I put that on, I'm falling asleep straight away. I just put it on my phone, listen to that. And the other thing as well is those handbands that they can play music and stuff. I ordered one last year for my secret
Yes,
Santa.
I feel too tired to open my eyes and read or write something down. My eyes go, no, go to sleep. But my head won't stop.
Yeah. Well, in which case, you need a skill that you can use for that. So we'll do a couple exercises before we finish up. So these are then a few other things that you could add to this section, because again, you got to find what works for you. So here you could put anything. A creative activity. You mentioned painting. Cleaning and organizing. I find that if I go and clean the kitchen, if I go and clean up, I actually feel I actually feel much better afterwards.
Could you have this talk with my son?
It could be anything. Listening to music, speaking to a friend, thinking out loud, reading a book, breathing exercises, knitting. It could be absolutely anything. There might be things that you're thinking could go on your list that aren't on this list, in which case, give it a try. But the point is this, not just trying it once, but continuously doing it, because just like any exercise, you get better at doing it through practice. So if you get better at doing it, you're going to feel much better later on. Now, of course, we've talked a lot today about, stress generally, and we've talked about yourselves. I haven't talked as much about myself in this. And the truth is that I really benefit from not only teaching about this, but practicing all the things that we're talking about, because I typically have a much more anxious personality than it might seem. Like, me doing this and you coming along to these sessions, would you say that I seem like a stressed, kind of angsty person?
No.
But the truth is that I very much am. Like, I stress about a lot of things and I have to actively try and get myself out of my brain a lot of the time. But I've become very good at doing it. In the last few years, yes, I've been working on my diet and stuff, and my exercise levels and all those things, but those things come easy to me. this is the
so
part.
You're not stressed?
It definitely helps. It definitely
I
helps.
would say because you don't look stressed because you're confident in your knowledge and you know what
That's part of it.
you're saying, so it's just kind of like
That's true.
almost formulaic to you.
That is
Yeah,
true.
do you know?
You are right, and that's part of it, like practicing the thing that used to make me feel stressed, like now. But even still, sometimes, you like, if you, like I told you to share earlier, and I realized it was because I started talking quicker, and so I was like, all right, I need a sec. So I got you to talk, so I didn't have to for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that, like, that helps me. But then, when I'm at home, when I'm driving, when I'm trying to sleep at night, and my brain starts getting active, that's when I struggle myself. And so I have developed like a really ironclad plan that works. In fact, do you want to know what mine looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my stress symptoms, I'll combine the two of these together. So I crave chocolate, I get very irritable, I don't sleep, I feel my chest get very tight and heavy. What's my other one? And my breathing gets like heavy, like shallow, right? So those are my 5 things that I look for. When one or more of them is starting to present itself, I go, okay, I need to do something about this because I want to stop it in its tracks. Because I know that if it starts to get to here, it's going to be that much more difficult to deal with. So then, my version of this is, there's a few different things I do. I might do it sequentially, or I might do it in like a different order. But I'll do breathing exercises, which I've gotten very good at. I'll step outside, usually. Usually it helps if it's cooler. Like now that it's hot, I actually feel very claustrophobic in heat like this. So this doesn't help me very much. But going and like splashing water on my face, that's now what I would do in this case. I do journal quite a bit. Sometimes I'll write, like if it's the evening time and I don't want to be on my phone, I get my little notebook out. If not, I'll get my phone out, and I've got a notes page which is like 3 years old, with just random thoughts. Could be something, you know, more emotion based. Could be me just like venting. It might be something that I'm grateful for. It could be anything. But I believe personally that thoughts are better out than in. So that's what I try and practice, right? So, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. These things aren't, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. But what we are doing is proposing a healthy coping mechanism that you can use actively to get your head in a better state and your body in a better state, so that your time is more enjoyable, but also so that you aren't risking your health in the future. That's really what my goal is in proposing this information to you. So we're going to come back to this. We're going to do this as the final exercise for the day. Before we do, every session I like to give you an action plan, something that you can take away with you and actively use. So this is called funneling. There's a version of this for every session that I come and do. You've seen this before. So you start with a broad aim, something to work towards, something to give you direction. For a lot of people, that might be become less anxious. But if I said to you right now, if I said, go forth and become less anxious, how would that make you feel?
More anxious.
Right? Because that's a big task. That's not just a thing that I can tell you to go away and do. That's something that you have to work towards, takes time. So for me to just throw that on you would be quite anxiety provoking. So instead what we got to do is we've got to break that down into a series of goals and actions. So a broad goal that would help me work towards this is improve my response to stress, because as we already looked at, the two are closely connected. So a specific version of this is I'm going to create a stress management plan. And I could use the template that we just looked at. My actions are, every week I'm going to a yoga class with a friend. That serves multiple benefits. I was going to say 2, probably more. The yoga class will be useful. It will give me something to look forward to during the week. In that class, it will help me to de-stress. It will also give me activities like breathing exercises that I could then use outside of that. Plus I'm going with my friend, which means that they'll hold me accountable, hopefully, and keep me going. but also it's an enjoyable way for me to spend time with that friend, and that will also help. So there's like 5 benefits of that one weekly activity. On a day-to-day basis, I am going to practice those breathing exercises for just 10 minutes. Doesn't matter when I do it throughout the day, it doesn't matter if I spread it out throughout the day, but the point is I'm going to try to do it for 10 minutes per day. And if I focus on doing this on a daily basis, this on a weekly basis, then I will have achieved this. I will have achieved that, which means I hopefully will achieve this. But it means that I don't have to focus on that, I just have to focus on those, which are a lot more manageable. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is this a structure that you feel like you could follow yourself? Nice. Now, again, you got to make this your own. So you could put in place anything that you wanted. On a daily basis, it could be just look at my stress management plan. Just spend 1 minute looking at it, analyzing it. That could be what your daily plan is. Your weekly plan could be that or something similar, but you get the idea. So that is what I want to leave you with, and this is what I want to do to pull everything together. So do you want to do a little breathing exercise together? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll just say one thing based on that last slide of what you said. I had a yoga teacher many years ago. She still teaches online. Her name's Kate Walker. She's amazing. She said to me once, Raina, if you haven't got time to meditate, and by that she means breathing exercises, for 10 minutes every day, then you need to do it for an hour. So, yeah.
Find time for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And schedule that in.
Yeah.
Thing I think I find hard as well to do.
I think everybody find that hard because
Yeah.
I'm trying to go yoga and body balance and what so. Then I'm thinking, is it enough? Do I need something else? And then when I think something else, I'm thinking I'm gonna go to like over planning.
Yeah.
You need time sometimes to just be in the coach and don't do anything.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
Didn't
I agree.
work. I still don't do it.
Well, let's put it this way. We always focus on the productivity, right? We always focus on the thing that is quote unquote productive. And how many of you, if you don't feel like you're being productive, maybe you feel bad?
Yeah.
But to me, all of what we're talking about is productive and important.
Well, sometimes, you know what, I just stop for a minute and say, you know what, it's my day off and I have 10 things to do, but I'm not going to do any because that could be moved.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit, watch a movie, and that's productive because I'm relaxing.
Yeah.
And as you said, even if I don't pay attention too much to the movie, you just at the background,
Yeah.
my brain is relaxing.
What's
I go swimming as well. I go swimming. I just people watch. I don't think of anything. I just concentrate on one,
yeah.
and I do it in tens.
Yeah.
So that I know. And my sons have said to me, why don't you take headphones? You can get waterproof headphones. So I don't want that. I want my mind just to go.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So let's do that now. So I want you to focus solely on what we're doing right now. So if you do start, if your brain starts going like that, I want you to try and actively go breathing and bring yourself back. So this is my favorite breathing exercise. It's not the only one that you could do. There are others, but this is the one that I really like. A, because you can visualize it, and I find that visualizing it helps quite a lot. And B, because it actually does work. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to envision that square inside of your mind. And we are going to breathe in and out along the edges of that square. And every time you do, you're going to do it for 4 seconds. So as I walk you through this, I want you to do it for 4 seconds at a time. You ready? So along the side of the square, I want you to slowly start to breathe in through your nose. And you're going to hold your breath for 4 seconds. And slowly start to exhale through your nose for another 4. And then pause before breathing back in. Now, before we restart, I want you to consider that we're all different, so if you want to hold your breath for longer, or if you want to breathe in and out for longer or shorter, you absolutely can. But I want you to take your time with it, and as you're breathing, I want you to start paying attention to how it feels when you're breathing. Does it feel like you're breathing into your stomach, into your chest? Do you feel any sensations around your body? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel stressed? Now while you're breathing, I want you to keep your eyes closed, and I want you to slowly start wiggling your toes around. And I want you to count all of your toes. And now I want you to move your attention to the soles of your feet, and your heels, and your ankles, and you can move your feet up and down, moving up into your calf muscles, and your knees, and your thighs. I want you to take your hands, rub them against your thighs. Pay attention to the feeling of the fabric against your skin. Put your hands together. Feel your own palms. Pay attention to any sensations you experience. Now move your attention up to your wrists, your forearms, your elbows, going up into your upper arms and your shoulders. You can give your shoulders a little circle. Feel your chest rise as you take a deep breath in, and fall as you exhale. As you take your next deep breath, I want you to bring your chin up. And as you exhale, I want you to bring your chin down. And again. Now I want you to push your feet into the floor and squeeze your thighs. And push your hands into your legs and squeeze your arms and your core muscles, and every muscle you can, get really tense. And take a deep breath. And as you breathe out, I want you to relax every muscle from your head to your toes, one by one. And one more time. Deep breath in and squeeze. And deep breath out, relax. Now for the last few breaths, all I want you to do is open your ears up to what you can hear around you. Could be anything. Could be that child in the distance, could be the projector, could be any background noise that you hear. But I just want you to listen out to anything you can hear. Take one final deep breath as deeply as you can. Hold it for as long as you feel comfortable. And then breathe out as slowly as possible till the air is gone. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How was that?
Nice.
Cool. Now something like that could be useful to you later. We could actually even turn that into a cool video. That would be cool. But that is something that you could do to help you fall asleep at night. Not that whole thing necessarily, but like How many of you found the breathing alone to be quite relaxing? That could be useful. So something like this. Again, it takes practice, but that to me is the most powerful. Like, your breath is the most useful route in to the body. In fact, it's one of the only things you can do that immediately causes a change internally. And that's both, that increases my stress, decreases it. And so you can control it through that mechanism, but again, it just takes time. So do practice these things, but I'll leave you on this. When it comes to stress, it is not if it has an effect on your health, but when. And so ultimately, regardless of what's causing it, how long it's been causing it, or how you are reacting to it, the stress itself will have an effect. And so what I encourage you to do is use the tools from today to identify and act to make sure that it doesn't affect your health as much as it could. And that's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Do you enjoy this one?
Yeah. Everyone.
Perfect. Lovely. Well, lovely to see you all. If any of you want to stay behind for anything at all, please be my guest. If not, we're pretty finished for the day. Oh yeah, if you want to take pictures, let me go back to the beginning.
Zach, tell me about the cortisone.